So one of the kind of themes in the last few conversations that we've had on the criminal justice system has been people's backgrounds. So how people's backgrounds have influenced like their future decision making. And so one of the things you just said was that when you were growing up, you didn't really experience love. So can you tell us a little bit about what your childhood was like and maybe what life was like before you found yourself engaging in criminal behavior?
But there was always turmoil at home.
Okay.
I grew up in a very unstable environment, or a very unloving environment. There was a lot of violence, there's a lot of drug use, there's a lot of drinking, abuse of all kinds. And it really as an adult, it affected how I dealt with other human beings. I've never seen people treat each other with respect or love in any type of way. And I thought that was normal. So this time around, learning those kind of things and learning how to have actual human relationships that don't benefit me, or just to have.
So was it a lot of, did it, like when you were younger, did it feel like a lot of the relationships were transactional?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So so that was like my childhood. It was very abusive in the household, a lot of drugs, a lot of violence, a lot of criminal behavior. In school, I was in school, I was that kid that kind of always got picked on. I was bullied a lot. So there was like no safe place. So I grew up in, feeling very threatened no matter where I was, whether I was at home or school. And, having to learn how to defend myself and fight everywhere I go. And, I brought that into my adulthood too. And that affected my decision making as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And on, learning how to deal with problems or dealing with people. So yeah.
So growing up, how did you see people, how was conflict handled, or how did you feel like you were being taught how to deal with conflict?
With violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cut a bitch.
It was always, that's the only way that we could, really settle things.
Mm-hmm.
And from where I came from, that was how it was done.
Yeah.
So then that you grew up just knowing that's the only way. So when you get into conflicts as an adult later on in life, is like the first thing I would resort to was violence.
Yeah, because why wouldn't you? Like
Yeah.
it's like all you knew, it's all you
do
saw.
what we know.
And,
Yeah.
and anyone who tried to resolve their conflicts in another way were seen as weak.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There was no such thing as being a better man.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like who won the fight and who didn't.
Right. And at what point would you say your behavior started to become questionable? Like when, like looking back, when do you think, oh, this is when things started to get really bad for me?
It was like maybe in my early 20s. My first run in sobrieties, I got in trouble with the law, and I was told it was either prison or it was either drug treatment.
Yeah.
And so I chose drug treatment because who wants to go to prison? And that's when I knew something was wrong. And I just didn't, I knew it was wrong. What I was doing was wrong. I just didn't know how to change it. And at that time, I wasn't ready. I didn't have the motivation.
Where do you think that came from, this idea that what you were doing wrong? Because I was going to make the comment that, if this is all that you know.
Well, you go to the courts, and then you go to drug treatment, and you start hearing these things.
But even that kind of is normalized, because I have family members that kind of are in and out. It's almost like it's a part of the process, it's a part of your coming of age, that if like we joke and say, I got this DUI because I'm an alcoholic. It's what I was supposed to get.
Well, I think I was the first one in my family to go to drug treatment.
Oh, okay.
So it was,
and that was in your 20s.
Yeah,
okay.
Early 20s. So I started to get exposed to different things and different ways of thinking.
Yeah.
Okay,
no, it's like almost so the idea is like things started to change when you were as you were exposed to things outside of.
Yes.
Yeah, got it.
So early childhood. So you said it started to get bad in like your early 20s.
Well, I think it started to get that's where things came to a head. But I think things got really bad maybe around when I was 14, and my orientation was discovered. I was ejected from the household, and I started living on the streets and started getting into sex work, and and just making adult decisions at 14. And that's when I even though I was exposed to drug use and criminal behavior before, that's when I actually started to do the
It was
drugs myself.
necessity. It was a
Yeah.
necessity. Yeah.
Yeah, so it became as part of a profession, and just it didn't stop from there.
Right. So it was like on one part. So I guess that, so then the other question I have is, what role did like substances play too, like drugs and alcohol during that time? Like, was it hand in hand?
Yeah, it comes with when you're living on the streets and the type of work I was getting into and the type of people I was hanging out with, and it just came second nature. It was always there, and it was a way to get things done, and it was also a way to start numbing for me to continue on what I was doing.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So can you things start to kind of like ramp up in your 20s. So what was life like while you were like, say, drinking and using, and when you were like, when the criminal behavior was like at its height? So this is like before like you started to experience the consequences.
I remember so the drug use got in the way of my work at that time, and there was a lot of times where I would be like sleeping on the streets, or I'll be jumping from hotel room to hotel room, from couch to couch, and it just I remember eating there was times when I would have to eat like out of a trash can, so
Were you in Hawaii at the time?
yes,
It's probably good trash, huh?
You're so stupid.
there has fresh air.
This Hawaiian
The
barbecue.
sidewalks were still cleaner.
Yeah. So you were like eating out of trash. So things started to get pretty bad.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And at that time, I just didn't know. I knew it was bad, but I just didn't know how to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say, like, okay, so knowing what you know now, and then going back to what you said about your higher power and trying to get closer to your higher power, do you feel like you were looking for this love that you didn't have through this process? Like maybe,
Yes. And then I can't really go into detail about that though. But
you don't have to.
There was a lot of times where a lot of instances and a lot of people that came into my life where I thought I was getting something that I never got before. And
it's like looking for something that you don't.
Yeah,
really
it was
know
just
what
me
it is,
looking for something that I in places that I shouldn't have been looking for.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So then, at what point did you start to get in trouble with the criminal justice system?
Like my early 20s was the first time, and
Okay.
They gave me those options. I completed the stipulations, and I was in.
What were they?
Go to drug treatment and complete drug treatment, or go to prison. And I chose the drug treatment. I did everything they did, and that was my first introduction to 12-step programs. You go to the drug treatment center, they put me in a clean and sober home, and they told me to make 30 meetings in 30 days. And I just kept on going, and I did all the footwork, but my heart wasn't really there.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, say more about like your heart wasn't really there. Like, what do you mean when you say that?
Like, I wanted a better life, but I look back at it is I wasn't willing 100% to do the real actual work.
Was there fear involved with letting go of?
Yes, letting go of all the things that I knew, all the things I
Mm-hmm.
grew up with, my belief system at that time. I was scared.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
There was that fear of having to live life, to learn new things and deal with life on life terms in a new way.
Were you also affected by this idea that if you did things a different way, you would be seen as weak? I mean, because that shit had to be brewing up in your.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying it's amazing some of the messaging that we get that we don't think it affects us, but later on it rears its ugly head. I'm like the yes man over here. Like he's asking the questions. I'm all project, do this.
So when you say, well, at what point did you start doing time, right? Because you had the option. Go ahead.
So that was way later in life. Like I was able to rack up a little sobriety time, and so I was very personalities before principles, and I let that take me out. And like I said, I never really did the real actual inner work. So all those things bubbled up, and I let it take me out.
Okay.
So eventually I started drinking and drugging again, and I got into some illegal behavior.
Yeah.
I was not living on the streets anymore, but I was still making friends with the wrong types of people. And we, around maybe 2016, 2017, I picked up aggravated identity theft charges and wire fraud charges
Okay.
on a federal level. And so from criminal behavior on the streets, I graduated to white collar crime.
Mm.
And
We're all okay.
yeah.
It's juicy. Go ahead.
And so I had so
How did that happen, by the way? How did it graduate to that?
you just meet the right people. In all honesty, it started off with a group of friends having a funny conversation, talking about our financial situation right now, and be like, "Oh yeah, we should do this," and then eventually it turns serious.
I feel like
And
we
then-
need to be careful because it's like the universe says yes to everything.
Yeah, and
We
then
don't-
my manipulative mind was like, "I know how. I
Hmm.
think I know a way." And they listened to me, and so basically, I was pretty much the organizer.
Okay.
So
I gave
love it.
everybody their
Leo said he
assignment.
met people in the mirror.
So you started, which is interesting because one of the things that I experience time and time again is that people in recovery, like we have all of these skills that we gained from the streets, right? And like, and there's, I think, just my opinion is like fundamentally, I think that addicts and alcoholics are some of the smartest people out there. And so
absolutely.
we
We're
get,
brilliant.
you know, we get sober, and then like our lives start to kind of take shape. And so, you know, I'm not surprised to hear that like at some point you're like, hey, I have a plan, and like, this is how we're going to organize it. So before, I don't want to skate. You wanted to say something?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I don't want to skate past, because you've said a few times I wasn't really to do the actual work,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Can you say more about what you believe is the actual work?
Like the actual work is like literally cleaning house,
Mhm.
working those 12 steps and telling the truth to your sponsor and not holding back and not hiding things and not leaving anything out of your inventory, and actually, learning new values and just practicing all of those spiritual principles that we supposedly learn
But
in
Leo,
the 12 steps.
where did that come from? I mean, it's like, was it over a period of like, okay, so you're in 12 step. Obviously, in the beginning, you weren't feeling it or whatever. Was it a longer process than normal? Because some people come in. Like I came in, I was so broken. I was so kind of done, and I was ready to listen and hear. And I didn't have this mistrust, and so I could hear it. I didn't come in with it.
I think the first time that I was in sobriety, I was going through the motions because I was sent there.
Mhm.
This time around, I actively chose sobriety.
That's a decision.
I actively chose sobriety, and like I said, it's like while you're in the prison cell and you're looking around, and just all those things you heard from before, it finally makes sense.
Yeah.
And you have all these conversations with yourself because that's all you have to talk to, and it's just you're having these conversations with yourself, and it's like these are the things that I've heard before, that was told to me before, and everything finally makes sense. When it finally made sense,
Mhm.
And I had to be there at that particular time in my life for things to finally make sense.
Nice.
So when things started so you said you had more than one go round. So you said that, that before, I guess, things started to click, it was personalities before people, or was it
Personality before principles?
principles before personalities.
I just had a very combative personality.
Okay.
And sometimes I still do. It's something I actively work on every day. But back at that time, I was not. I would go to meetings like so ready to pop off.
Kind of like our customers at Cliffs.
How do you call coming for customers? So at what point? So I'm assuming then, like, you got sober, you did your first go round, you did your second go round, you did some time, and then after that, what were the kind of like longer lasting consequences of being involved with the criminal justice system? So really what I'm asking about is like, go ahead. Oh, what I'm saying, really what I'm asking about is like, okay, you know, we talked about your background, we talked about, you know, what things look like when you were in the middle of it, and then at some point you get sober, things start to click, but I imagine that there were consequences that you still had to deal with after that.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, the most obvious is like the criminal record.
Okay.
No matter what, no matter how far I'll go in sobriety or whatever, I will always be a convicted felon. And you know, one of the biggest fears, you know, coming out of incarceration and coming back into the world was, you know, the way things are set up in this world. You know, a brown man with my background, with my upbringing, and with my criminal record should not make it. And I find myself, you know, thriving today. So that's a miracle on its own. And
I guess I'm always asking this question, where did that come from? Because what steps, I mean, do you feel like you've taken, or is it an attitude?
I believe it was just an attitude. You know, and it came from an attitude that you gain while in sobriety, and you're working on yourself, and you're steadily cleaning house. And, you know, I was determined to build a better life. I knew I had to like work really hard. And I've been working really hard,
Yeah.
you know, and, you know, there's a lot of fruits of my labor by the grace of God. And, you know, but there's always going to be that fear no matter where I go.
Yeah.
Even when I make new friends or
Yeah.
I'm meeting new people, you know, there's always that, you know, I'm a convicted felon.
Mhm.
You know?
I don't want to this is wonderful, and I don't want to run too fast to the like and this is what I'm doing now, right? Because I want to hear, because I'm curious, I want to hear more about like, how is it that you navigate it having a criminal record? Like how, right? Because you've obviously, you know, you said you're thriving, but it's like, I think I think like there's a message in there that people can hear, which is like, it didn't just happen overnight, right? Like there was the point where you were released from prison, and then you had to make decisions in order to get to the point where you're thriving. So I'm wondering, like, what did life look like after that, right? Like, what are some of the obstacles you had to
He's Barbara
face?
Walters and you.
Yeah,
He wants to
yeah.
know
Yeah.
those times when it was
Well, let me
dark
tell
for
you something. We have to
So,
get up to
yeah.
45.
So it was okay. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was basically
Yeah.
the first steps was me. You know, 4 months into my prison sentence was up. They sent me to a halfway house over here on 111 Taylor Street.
Okay.
Mhm. Oh, I know that
In the
place. That's
Tenderloin?
a program that, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a halfway house.
Yeah.
So from there, let me rewind a little.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I know I had to start stabilizing,
Okay.
you know, or get into some type of program or sobriety while in prison.
Yeah.
Because of the pandemic or whatnot, they wouldn't allow anybody to congregate or hold meetings or anything.
Okay.
I had a friend that sent me some literature, and he also brought me a subscription to Grapevine magazine.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
So the Grapevine, there was a few of us after networking a little in prison.
That's our meeting in print.
It really was.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't have a meeting in prison. So I would get my subscription, I would read it, and I'll pass it along to the next alcoholic.
Nice.
No
And
way.
that really became our meeting in print.
I just
not
got chills right now.
Oh
It's
my
like,
God, that makes me so
Yes,
I know,
emotional.
my first issue that I got in prison was the annual prison issue.
okay.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was like pretty cool. And so when I left, I was able to call customer service Grapevine and get my get my subscription transferred to another alcoholic who was still in there.
Yeah.
Um,
We have a comment. Just 1 second. Hold that thought. Jaylon writes,
So it's safe to say you had a psychic change. Also, how have you been able to allow yourself to accept the fruits of your labor and this new life that you have today?
can we come back
Thank
to
you,
that?
Jaylon.
That's a great
We're gonna
question,
put
but
that in the
we'll
parking lot.
we're gonna round off with that one.
We're trying to feed off the meats of the in between.
so that was that, and we advocated really hard with the prison guards and the counselors and the staff to have to bring back meetings, and we were finally able to have our AA meetings back in prison. And exactly when we first had our first meeting, the next day I was told that I'm being sent to a halfway house.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
So I was like, oh, cool, you know.
That's
so
that's like love.
so fast forward, now I'm here, and I was just like, okay, like,
this was 4 months before the halfway house. That's when you started. Like,
maybe
it doesn't matter. The timetable is
maybe 5-6 months.
Yeah, sure.
So 4 months until my prison sentence was up, that's when they sent me to the halfway house.
Got it.
It's like some new program that they do.
Uh-huh.
And so when I got out, like, my first priority was sobriety. Of course, I had to get a job and stuff. So, but I took whatever job called me back first, you know.
Okay.
And I started being a security guard at Target on 4th and Mission.
Nice.
It was rough. And so what I did was I went to meetings. I reached out to people. I built a support tree. I went to Zoom meetings. You know, I was going to as much people and meeting, you know, establishing myself in the sobriety community here in San Francisco as much as I could. I started volunteering here at the Castro Country Club.
This is all pretty recent.
Yes, this was so maybe 2022 I came out.
No shit.
Yeah.
You really are thriving. Sorry, I'm just kind of like struck of just that's all very recent.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead.
And I think I was, you know what the truth is that everyone is meant to live a good life, but you have to put in the work.
Of course.
And I think that I was always meant to live a good life, and that's what I'm living the life that God intended for me to live. But I just wasn't mentally, and spiritually, I just wasn't there willing to accept it. You know, so I just started building community, and I started, you know, you put yourself around the right people, and, you know, people start noticing the work that you're doing, and they notice that you're taking your sobriety serious, and that's when things start to really fall into place. And eventually I was able, there's been a lot of hiccups. I'm not saying that there wasn't. I was actually homeless in San Francisco for a while, maybe for like a month or so. That was scary, like homeless, sober.
Did you
of
do
course.
shelters then, or what?
Yes,
Yeah.
I would go to the St. Vincent de Paul in Oakland. Yeah, so that's where I would go. But so there was a lot of hiccups. There was like a lot of dark moments and stuff, but I kept trudging no matter what, because I knew that something was, you know, even at that time, that even though there was like a lot of dark spots, there was also like a lot of bright spots.
Absolutely.
And I had a lot of bright spots to hold on to. And our camera is frozen.
Oh, it's fine. It does that every now and then.
Yeah.
It's us. It's not them.
Okay.
No one else can see. But
Okay,
us, yeah.
Yeah.
So
We used to freak out. Oh my God, there's a spot on it. No.
no,
Go ahead.
so I had those bright spots to power me through the dark phases, or, you know, the dark times. And yeah, I forgot what your question
No,
was.
that's okay. Yeah.
No,
Well,
you flushed it.
Yes, you talked. Yeah, I mean, you talked about stabilizing and all the ways that you started to stabilize.
Yeah.
So can we pull up Jaylon's
Jaylon's
question again? So I feel like this is
Yeah.
So Jaylon wrote.
So it's safe to say you had a psychic change. Also, how have you been able to allow yourself to accept the fruits of your labor and this new life that you have today?
So first part of that question, or first part of that comment, yes, it is safe to say that. Second part, you know, it's something I have to actively do every day too, because it's like a lot of the times it's like, if I think too much, or if I get in my own head, I'm like, life was never this great.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like at any
Just
moment
question
things
it,
are just
yeah.
going to start crashing down, or I'm going to do something that totally messes it up.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, you know, I tell myself, is like, I did the work. You know, I'm doing the best I can every day, and I just have to take it easy on myself, and, you know, enjoy what's this new life that I've, you know, built for myself.
I feel that. When you say take it easy on yourself, what does that look like?
Just knowing that, you know, just being able to just, you know, if things didn't go the way if the day didn't go the way I planned it, or something didn't go the way I planned it, just know that I did my best to keep my side of the street clean. And I know you know, at the end of the night, I can put my head on my pillow knowing that, you know, I did everything I could to, you know, just be a better person.
Hey, so where's your family in this? Do you have a relationship?
Like they're around.
Oh,
Like, yeah.
it's
I mean, I lived a full life. Like I'm 40 now, so I lived so long without them.
uh-huh.
Like at this point, I just don't feel the need
Yeah.
to.
Understand.
That's
like, okay,
real.
like it is what it is.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
I feel that.
I feel like I've met some people here in this current sobriety that are better than any family. They're the best family that I could ever hope for.
Billy
Yeah.
said, I love everything about this.
Mm.
Well, we love you, Billy.
Yes.
Oh,
Thank
Billy.
you, Billy.
Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Billy has been like a huge support from the time I was a volunteer till now. And, there's some people that you meet along the way in sobriety that is going to have such a profound impact on your sobriety and on your life. And, these are people that I'm always totally grateful for.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just a reminder that Billy is our amazing executive director here at the Castro Country Club.
What
Yes,
was
yes.
coming up for you just now?
I know, it's like I'm all we Barbara Waltered you.
Yeah.
Actually, it was Billy.
Yeah.
Actually, it was you, Billy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did you want to answer my question?
What was your
Oh, I
question?
said, what came up for you?
Oh, what came?
You seemed moved, and I wanted to know more about what was in
Sometimes
you.
it even happens when I share at meetings and stuff. It's like when I start talking about, the present state of my life and the people that I have in my life, I just get so emotional.
yeah.
And it's something that I'm still, it's new for me. So so it does get emotional,
Mm-hmm.
because never in my life has life been so great.
Mm.
So
Yeah, that's so beautiful, and I really appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely.
I think, one of the things that we've talked about before is that there when it comes to like addiction, there's it's very dark. I live in the TL and I see it all the time, and it gets very, very
I need
dark.
to get out of there.
I know. I know my partner and I've been talking about how bad I need to get out of there. But
Even if you just to move across the street.
yeah, I mean, he
Sometimes
lives
it's
in well,
yeah.
that's not here nor there. But what I'm trying to get at here is, Mike writes, this has been one of the best of these podcasts. Leo's honesty and vulnerability, just so amazing.
Yes.
Aw,
thank you, Mike.
Leo.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
Absolutely.
What I wanted to say is that I think you're a really good example of the other side of addiction, right? A lot of times when people like are reading about addiction in the news, it's about, like people dying, or it's about like these really dark sides to what like addiction looks like. Or what it looks like to have like a criminal record. And what a lot of people don't realize is that there's this other side to addiction. And it's the side where people do recover. It's the side where people like are actually trying to live a better life and are actually having a better life.
Thriving. Yes.
And then they're thriving. And I feel like this is such a good example of that. I feel like you're a statistical anomaly. And that, you had the background that you did, and then you had the experiences that you did. And then at the end that you still chose something that was like easier and softer for you, as opposed to kind of continuing on. We have another comment.
Yeah.
Brandon says, so great to hear more about Leo. I continue to be more and more amazed at this man.
He's a manager at the Country
Aw.
Club.
Stanton.
And
Jose Sanchez writes, Leo, is that your last name?
Yes.
How do you say your last name?
Bite.
Vite.
You are a true miracle and shining light of sobriety.
I
That's
love
my
that.
sponsor.
I love that.
Oh, hi,
my
Jose.
sponsor.
Yeah, but
well,
it's like
allowed.
that-
He's allowed to say that.
Absolutely. No, it's like what you were talking about is so amazing. I think that when we dive in and then we build this community around, and one of the things I was thinking, like, it might help to hear, when you being not so trustworthy of people, like, what do you look for? What are these qualities that stand out in the people that you kind of zero in on?
Hold on. He said,
Hi.
Your sponsor.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm all
Uh-huh.
like, what are there particular qualities that you look for, like, for the people? Because, go ahead.
Yeah. So coming from where I come from, I think I've developed some kind of extra sense. There's people like I meet new people, and within 5 or 10 minutes, I can make my
You just
decision.
trust that
Like,
judge
oh yeah,
now.
this is a cool person, or it's like, oh, I gotta stay away from
I feel
her.
that.
So it's always the vibe. it's always the vibe is how, how they project themselves, how they carry, what they lead conversations with or their introduction with.
That's real.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Always look for the humbleness. People who are, they lead with a humble spirit, or you can tell. Now that I'm sober and now that I'm sober, I can sense when, or you can feel when people are actually there for you just by little things that they do.
Yeah.
It's always the little things that people do that show you how much they respect you or don't respect you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you just look, sometimes you just don't pay attention to what's coming out of people's mouth, and you just watch how they walk.
Yeah.
So you trust yourself today, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's something that I struggled with. And like to Jaylon's question going back, how do I allow myself to benefit from the fruits of my labor or whatever? There was a long time where I just would not do certain basic things, like buy a new pair of shoes because I needed to, or treat myself to something nice because I felt like I didn't deserve it. Like that I was on borrowed time, that this was not my life. This was I was just kind of biding my time. It took a really long time to get past that.
Yeah. What you're both making me think of is like I was sharing a little earlier about things have been kind of tough for me in the last couple of months, and I love what you said about humility. Like for real, because I've just been thinking about, like, I've been in like a lot of pain, but I'm getting out of that. And the gift of like that depression for me has been, I have felt safest and have felt most healed by people who have been humble or people who have been loving. And what it's brought up for me is just like how important, like, all the material trappings of this world, they don't fucking matter. We don't get to take anything when we die,
Right.
But what has been so important to me has been like the relationships that I have with people, and like how gentle people are with like each other. And I think about people like Billy, and I think about people like Brandon, who are like very kind and loving to like the sick and suffering person that comes in here. And it does make a world of difference. It's been like those people who, when like you walk into a meeting, they're like warmly greeting you,
Exactly.
And it's been those people who like from the floor are sharing like very honest things, and they aren't trying to put on a show for anyone. So I just feel, I guess I'm sharing all of that to say is like, I feel very inspired by your story. And I think that's all I wanted to say about that.
I know.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
And also, it's like just the quality of my social life. Like, judging by the people that you have in your life, it can tell you where you are in your sobriety.
Oh yeah.
I can honestly say I have the best quality people in my life right now. As far as socially or professionally. And it's amazing that after everything that I had to go through, you get these you find this amazing community. And no one has led me what's the phrase? Astray. Yeah, no one has led me astray yet. And no one there's just amazing people in my life that I know genuinely care and are concerned about me, and who contribute every day to my sobriety. And that's amazing for me.
I love that, Leo.
I think that, honestly, I think it's cool. I think that you should give yourself credit, because it is a dual kind of job going on, because it's not that we just sit back and hope to find the right people. We have a responsibility. Like you said, it's like, I pay attention to energy, to vibe, and all that stuff. I fulfill the darkness. And that's the beautiful thing about this community. Like, there are people in various places there. Some people are still in that dark place and they don't know how to. And there's room here for all of us. And I don't always have to be that person but the gift too of this program. And when we talk about like the promises, when you see people get it, and then they show up, and then they start doing what you were doing, like, hell, whatever love was working on you inside, because I had never heard anybody talk about this idea of like, I couldn't get a meeting. So I was reading the grapevine, and then handing it on to other people, because that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Justin Shuck writes, Billy and Brandon are saints. Glad you're here on the team, CCC Leo. Is that a canned message, Justin? I love you,
Thanks,
Justin.
No, so it's like, I allow myself, I do the work.
Mm.
I trudge on no matter what. I have the support. I do everything I need to do to maintain my sobriety. And I just allow myself to, I allow the fruits of my labor and the fruits of sobriety and all the promises to enter my life.
Mm.
And it was just 2 years in. So March 17, I made 2 years.
Holy
month.
shit! Congratulations!
Just 2 years. I'm just amazed at how well things are for me right now.
And this is just the beginning.
Yeah, and it's just the beginning. So sometimes I get those scared moments, like I said earlier. But and every day, it's something that I have to work on. It's an everyday thing.